Welcome back to another episode of Local Search Tuesdays. This week I'm talking about a vital tool in your digital marketing tool belt, one that most businesses either ignore or don't use correctly: your blog. Yep, you need a blog to succeed in today's search results, and here's why. It's the best way to get more exposure for your business. Google shows websites as search results because they have relevant, robust answers to the questions that are being asked by whoever is conducting a search. Your blog is a great way to answer those questions and get more visibility. And since we always talk about the local algorithm, it's important to understand the right way to use your blog. Some content is helpful and relevant to searches, but it doesn't necessarily fit as a main page on your site. It's also important to remember, everything you put on your site or your blog doesn't have to be a direct driver of revenue. Most importantly, blog content allows you to target long-tail keywords, the search phrases that include more words and are more specific. Your product or service isn't only about one specific keyword phrase. There are likely hundreds of other phrases or questions that users might search for related to that single product or service. You don't want to clutter your primary navigation with tons of pages, and you don't want huge submenus or lots of contextual links that make it harder to navigate your site. So the more detailed pages that target specific, more in-depth phrases work great as blog posts. And remember, like I said a minute ago, I'm always talking about local SEO, and sharing localized blog content helps get you more exposure. If everything you put on your site is about selling the products or services you offer, you're targeting a pretty narrow section of the potential local community. That content will only show up in search results for people who are in market to buy your product or service right now. Adding helpful, relevant, interesting content about the local area helps expose you to a much wider section of the local audience. Think of it like putting a billboard up on the highway. People drive by that billboard every day and see your business name, so even if they're not looking to buy what you're selling, they have brand recognition and potentially brand affinity if it's an eye-catching billboard. Sharing localized content does the same thing. Sure, the people who come to your blog to read those localized posts aren't qualified leads yet. But when they are in market to buy what you're selling, they'll already know about you, and you're more likely to capture those customers. Plus, localized blog posts are a great strategy for acquiring local links too. I'll talk more about that in next week's video when I'll be sharing ideas for localized blog content. But that's all the time I've got for today's video, though. So, you know what that means. Put your hand on the screen right here. We totally just high-fived, because you learned something awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Local Search Tuesdays.